getting from the county government.
Absolutely, and of course this is something that will be leveled. And I have to insist, or rather just make it clear that this is the biggest amount that is being, of all the governors that were highlighted yesterday, Sonko's, the amount that is being pegged on Mike Mbuvi Sonko is the largest, 4.5 billion shillings. This is why actually it's bigger news than the others, I would think, but it doesn't make it right. Mr. Magal.
I think what this serves to highlight is the twin problem of tax evasion and corruption in Kenya. And these are two issues that have been pervasive and prevalent for a very long time now.
Yes.
Corruption is not a new word in Kenya. Tax evasion seems like a new word, but it's been there.
Yes.
I can tell you half of those who are rich because they've been evading taxes. And it is a high time the government took a very tough stance on tax evaders. The question that begs for an answer is, if these deductions were being made from people's pays, where was the money being remitted to?
Yes.
It means there's a loophole that somebody somewhere has been exploiting to enrich himself. Because I don't believe this money is still in the county coffers. Otherwise, they would have been flagged out by the Auditor General.
Yes.
They would have questioned, why do you still have 4.5 billion in your account, which indicates should be sent to KRA. Another thing that comes out clearly is complicity on the part of KRA staff. And this needs to be said and said over and over again.
Yes.
Where has KRA been for these amounts to accumulate to this much?
Yes.
And it's not just about the counties. There are individuals out there that we can see are being taxed, are being arraigned in court for tax evasion amounting to billions. Where has KRA been through and through?
Yeah.
You can see the pickle that a Kenyan finds himself in. On the one hand, there is somebody who is deducting their pay and not remitting the same. And whenever it is remitted, there's another person at the other end stealing that money. We are caught in here in between, talking of tough times, talking of poverty, talking of crime, talking of you know so many problems. But we can see the genesis. Thanks to the handshake, at least the government seems now to be working. It might be a pointer to the fact that all we need is a handshake, not really a constitutional change. In order to get this country running.
The country running. And it's a pretty good point you've made there, because by the time you're getting to 4.5 billion, these are monthly remittances. So after the first month where nothing was done, where was KRA? To the point that it gets to the equivalent of a number of Mr. Ocean, you said how many dispensaries? 900. 900 dispensaries.
2.7 million Kenyans.
Where was KRA all this while?
Same argument with the Keroche case. By the time you're coming to claim, because you know a billion is 1,000 millions. It's not a chicken feed. By the time you have that bigger hole in your tax collection, someone KRA needs to go home because it means they're not doing their job.
Points to a possible official being complicit in the whole fiasco. Now, there's a story here that I've always wondered whether it should be playing out in the public eye, but it's also connected to the Nairobi governor because he was the whistleblower on this one. It's on the top page of the Daily Nation. It told Okoth's son, he is DNA reveals. Now, this is after court-told test confirmed that the former Kibra MP is father of boy whose mother was embroiled in a row with their family. Now, we remember that infamous speech that he made publicly, and of course, a lot of us cringed, a lot of us celebrated, everybody had their opinion, and now it has seemingly come to full circle. What do you feel about it?
You know, I really don't know what to comment. I guess congratulations again, Okoth. I don't know. Because
what's the prize?
How is it any of our business?
Exactly.
Okay? The only thing that we should be concerned about is, does the boy get the rights that his father bestowed upon him by virtue of being his father? That's the only thing that we need to be concerned about. But the thing is, and this is the obsession with Kenyans and other people's morality. When it's other people, Kenyans are up in arms, you know, all men are dogs, all this and that. But these men are dogs with who? Because we keep blaming people for their behavior. We forget that it takes two to tango. And so let people's private business remain their private business. What we should be concerned about his legacy is what did he do for Kibra and for this country. Nelson Mandela's sexual history is nothing to write home about. Mahatma Gandhi, same story. It's only here in Kenya where the people who visit Koinange Street the most want it closed. It's only in Kenya where we know where Sabina Joy is, but we are against what happens there. How did you know? You know, it's like in the 2000s when we used to go to church and then you go and dance and then the pastor says, that dance is a secular dance, that is a club dance. How did you know, dear pastor? And that's the problem with this country. We're pretenders.
Taken to Kenya Institute of Medical Research show the 99.9% match. But I'm wondering, as the media, can't we just like form the agenda and stay away from these types of stories?
How are you asking us?
We're analyzing. We're reviewing.
I mean, the greatest, you're spot on.
Yeah.
The question is, now we know, but to what end? Exactly. We are not even privy to whether or not Ken Okoth bestowed anything on the bequeathed to the baby anything. We don't know. We don't know whether the baby appears. We don't know why this was very important. It was obvious from the word go. Yeah. And I remember being here and saying Ken's mom had mishandled the whole thing, mismanaged the whole situation by declaring that my son never had a child, yet there were pictures strewn across social media of, you know, herself with the baby. So I think it's good for closure for the mother of the child. And should there be anything that is due them, then I bet it affords the youngster, you know, what is due him, bequeathed him by the daddy. But as you rightly say, this covers space on our mainstream media when we have fundamental issues to talk about, such as corruption in very many institutions. You guys aired Child Welfare Society. The other day you saw about Masai Mara. What are the things we are able to do to forestall some of these things? You know, the Mau crisis. Why can't we use that space to detail or enlist the people who have stolen the land from the Mau?
Absolutely.
You know, there is so much more to put here. What are the policies that would inform, you know, agriculture, micro, you know, and small enterprises in this country? There is so much. That space would have been used to even highlight the job opportunities that are available for people in this country.
Absolutely. So I know what you think about it, but just go ahead.
Over to you, Mr. Editor. What you choose to put in your paper. But I agree with you. As far as I was concerned, when they first went to court, they were trying to get themselves involved in the burial proceedings. But Honorable Ken Okoth and his wife had already agreed on the modus operandi. And surely when it comes to cremation, I don't know where you're going to participate, because you cannot come with your dress and sit with your lace and have your child there for 3 hours being paraded in front of people. Cremation is a very private affair. And it happens and it's over and done with, and now you can remain doing memorial services and other things. So in my opinion, the reason why they went to court to begin with was already overtaken by events. That is why when the results came out, I think they felt they could come out and tell us about it like we actually cared. I don't think it was ever in question that the boy was Ken Okoth's son. The affair was a public affair, as it turns out. And at the end of the day, even I would imagine that Honorable Okoth in his will, because he seems to have made his arrangements towards the end. He didn't die intestate like most of the other politicians we have seen. So I would imagine that the child is amply taken care of. The MCA needs to realize that she is not a wife. She has absolutely zero entitlement to Ken Okoth's estate. Whatever comes her way is bequeathed. It would be purely gratuitous. It would be a gift. But as his heir, he has an entitlement, and I'm sure provision was made for him. But I do agree. Sometimes, like even I was reading in the Nairobian about the messy divorces. Some of these things make for sales and for ratings. But at the end of the day, if you decant what we are really teaching people, what we're really getting out of the story is just laughing
drama
at other people's misery.
Yes.
It's actually trying to make ourselves feel better by seeing other people as being worse off than ourselves. And it's not very nice.
It's unfortunate, but the news cycle, typically, that's how it goes.
For sure.
Yeah, the weird stories would probably sell more than the kawaii, the development ones. Mr. Magalo, what do you feel?
On this one, I stand with Sonko, Honorable Sonko. It highlights a problem in our society. I think there are very few funerals that you will attend in this country where a woman doesn't show up with children claiming to be the deceased. I mean, as men, we should honor. If you have children out there, take care of them. Should you pass on, make provisions for them. I mean, you know, even these chokoras on the streets have fathers, probably well-to-do fathers. That wouldn't take a second glance at them because it reminds them of who they truly are. I would also, you know, Okoth was, may his soul rest in peace, was a great man. But I would have been worried if he didn't go the African way. that was to leave a Sion behind. It is a responsibility for every one of us to pass the baton. And that is, another thing is about this, you know, now that Aden commented on the issue, now let me take the opportunity to comment on this cremation thing. It's really uncultural, it's really not African, There is a way we are attached to each other. There is a way, there is a network of interconnection between me and my family members and vice versa. Therefore, to just abruptly end it like that, to me, it's still strange, and that is why we find that the society is still finding it hard to reconcile itself with it. It is a foreign. In India, it might be acceptable. It is gaining acceptance in the West, but in Africa, I would think twice before I commended it for myself.
I think there's no need to make a right. One, just to quip. Of course, it is the wish of everyone that they would leave behind a child. The children are blessings from God purely. And there are some who have not been blessed with children, not because they did not want. And so it may be, we may only feel bad, but it shouldn't be unfortunate because they didn't wish for it. But cremation is truly, as Magal says, un-African. It has not been our way of practice. But if Africa is predominantly Christian, and if they read their Bibles, then they know cremation did not start yesterday because there are instances in the Bible when cremation happened. And so I remember my mother just looking in absolute, she was distraught that Ken Okoth would be cremated. And she even told me, my child, if anything ever happens, if you go before me and I don't wish for it, then please don't be cremated. Let me have you and bury you and mourn you for 40 days by your graveside. And I said, Mommy, I am still here for 50 more years.
Right.
But even then, I will not do that. So, whereas it may not be cultural, we need to just appreciate that sometimes because of the context of nurture. You know, Ken spent a lot of time out there, then married a European lady who, for her, this has been practiced for over 100 years.
Right.
And may have influenced, it may not have been the white lady doing it. It may also have been a choice of Ken, because those who know Ken know that he also had a very rare liberal mindedness to himself. So he may have decided, I am a unique guy. I don't have time to build in the village where I come from because I have no attachment to that place.
Right.
I don't have it. Because of that, I don't want to bother people practicing culture to go and build when I am dead.
Right.
For a wife who will not stay in that home, itakuwa sanamu, so you do this. Cremate me, save the bill, give that man to my child. Because in Western Kenya, where we come from, I tell you, if the person of the stature of Ken Okoth dies, we will spend 5 million to bury him, but we didn't have 500,000 when he was alive.
Case in point, Joe Kadenge's death, you remember the millions that we were talking about.
But let's be clear.
Right.
The art of burying people,
it
wastes space, it wastes time. No, seriously. And the world over, there's people are rethinking burial rights because the act of just putting someone in a 6 meter square thing, you know, if you just look at the land use alone, it's nonsensical. And then two, even those who think that resurrection must be of your body, my friend, there are people who died 2,000 years ago, they are fertilizer now, right? So we know it is not necessary for your body to be intact for Jesus to resurrect it. So listen, where we are going in this future, this funeral site in Langata is full. Right? So will we keep keeping entire bodies, full-length bodies, you know, so that God can recognize them? Come on. As in, and this is the problem with Africa. We have to realize that change is good. And one of those things that must change is the need to bury people. And in fact, Osiani has also said it. Can we also stop contributing more money to a funeral than we did to the health bill? You understand? In fact, when I die, don't contribute. I'm dead. What are you contributing for a casket for? No, by the please don't.
You will not be there, and we will not afford to be embarrassed because you are dead.
Let me tell you. Please write that check in the name of Xavier Bichachi.
So we bury you naked?
What do you mean? Okay. Let's move. There's actually a book that's called Bury Me Naked. You need to read it. Very, very interesting. Now,
put me on in my t-shirt and my pajamas if you must bury me.
Okay. Now let's move on.